Hello, my name is Joel, and this is Rebecca. Together we play as Rosebriar Creek. And we've decided that we would try to give some lessons via the internet. And hopefully these will help you to improve your playing. And if you've never played before, this lesson in particular could get you on the road to playing with us. I have my guitar in my lap. You'll notice that it is sitting on my right leg. I have a strap around my shoulder. That's an important part of playing the guitar. You want the strap so that you do not have to hold it and waste any energy by doing that. The next thing I'm going to do is put my pick in my hand. If you take a look at this, I basically pull a trigger finger. So I've got a little square, and then I put my pick on the square and then cover it with my thumb. Then I finagle it till it's comfortable. If you look closely, you will see very little of the pick from either angle. Very little of it. Now, when I approach the guitar, I am going to put my thumb along the axis of the string itself. And then I'll simply drop my thumb. I can actually do a little pressure on my thumb to let it land on the string below. This is known as a rest stroke. And if you haven't been doing these rest strokes, now it's a great time to start getting comfortable with it. And when it comes to sound, we're going to look at two things in particular this time. We're going to look at pitch, which is the relative highness or lowness of a sound, and we're going to look at rhythm. On the lowest string, we are on the pitch E, when a standard tune guitar. Now, I'm going to let that rest stroke get comfortable. Make sure you know how to do that. Then the next thing I'm going to do is give myself a rhythm via what we call the beat. If I tap my toe, 1, 2, 3, 4, I have a way of measuring how long I hold a sound. And that's all rhythm is. It's the duration of a sound. So if I tap 4 times for every sound, 2, 3, 4, we have what's known as a whole note. If I cut that in half, 2, 3, 4, I get what's known as a half note. I can make a sound every time my foot goes down, and I'm going to call that a quarter note. You'll notice I'm using sets of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and I just keep counting to 4. That set is known as a measure, and that is how I'm going to organize the sounds, via the measure at first. Now I have one more rhythm I'd like to talk about, and that's another stroke for our hand, for our right hand. This pick can also go up. Now when I go up, I'm not going to hit the string below. This is known as a free stroke. You might want to just practicing going down and up without counting anything for a little while. With me, please. All right? And don't count at all. But generally speaking, I'm going to go into that down-up stroke when I reach what's known as the 8th note. An 8th note, just like the name implies, will get me 8 sounds per measure. And the way to think of it is I'd say the number of each beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I use the word "and" as a place marker. So if I'm doing a quarter with a rest stroke, 1, 2, 3, 4. Before I try doing down up, I think in my head, which is where to take a longer rhythm, notice how I use the rest stroke to stop. The next string down, the second fattest string, is the A string, and it sounds like this. First, practice your rest stroke. That's it. Practice the rest stroke. Make sure it's comfortable. Make sure you're landing. 3, 4. 3, 4. Now might be a good time for me to notice that part of my hand is actually on the guitar. Sometimes even on the strings, depending on where I am on the guitar. But I'm like placing a part of it on the guitar to give me something to hold it in place, to help with the ballast, if you will. Now let's count and practice our rhythms. On the A note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Half notes. Quarter notes. Before you try eighths, you must think in your head the word and in between the numbers. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. If you're doing it right, by the way, your foot will go down when your pick goes down, and it'll go up when the pick goes up. And the next string down, its pitch is D. And let's just work our way through all the strings together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, quarter. Think 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and our next string is a G string. 1, together now. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Quarter. Think 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Next string is our B string. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Half it. Quarter. Think 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the last string is a high E, 2 octaves above the lowest string. And here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Half it. 2, 1, 2. Quarter it. Think 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and now I'm going to look at the left hand. The left hand is fairly simple, the concept of it. On the guitar itself, these little boxes are known as frets. My thumb should go straight vertically, I'm going to call that a vertical placement, behind the neck. If you can, try to keep it from creeping over. Yes, some guitar players will use their thumb on the top over the neck. However, the harder thing to learn at the beginning is to keep it below or in the back of the guitar so I don't see it from the front. Now, with the frets, the idea is my pointer index finger will go in the first fret. My second finger, middle finger, will go in the second fret. My ring finger in the third, and my pinky goes in the fourth. Now, That's going to feel a little uncomfortable at first because you have to learn to separate your fingers. Generally speaking, the closer I am to the fret, which is the metal bar that goes there, without being on that metal bar, the more pure my sound will be. But that's going to take a little while. Now what you might do is just put your hand in this kind of a position. Hold it. Watch a news report. Let it go. And again, try and put it back in place so that your hand begins to develop the feeling for the fretboard. Now, one of the things that a lot of people will encounter is this kind of an approach. Here my hand is at a sideways angle and it's leaning. I can't reach my pinky if I do that very well, but I can if I try hard enough. That's not going to give me the best results. I need to be straight up and down, what I call a vertical approach. Now, that's going to take a little time to develop. You can go slow with whole notes. There's my E. There's my F. Stretch. There's the F sharp. There's my G. And there's my G sharp. I recommend you try to do this particular exercise once or twice a day. You can do it on all the strings if you've already done this, and you can try doing all the rhythms with that approach as well. We'll do that when we get further along there. But right now, I'm going to move on, and I'm going to incorporate the very first scale. A scale is a series of single notes. And as such, they are the thing that we end up calling the melody of a song. It's the thing that you can hum. And it's easier, it's worth developing your scales right from the beginning because you're only playing one note. So it's easier to start that way, as opposed to playing all 6 strings, which is what happens when we harmonize a scale or make chords. The scale I'm going to begin with is known as the E minor scale. Now, because my first finger goes in the first fret, my second finger goes in the second fret, and my third finger goes in the third fret, if I want to play something on the third fret, I would use my third finger. If I wanted to play something on the first fret, I'd use my first. If I wanted to play in the second, I'd use my second. Alright, this is an idea I want you to start to get comfortable with. This particular scale starts by going open to third fret. And you might want to just practice getting good at that. Again, you can do rhythms, any rhythm you want with it. Now on the A string, the note I'm going to hit is with the second fret, so I use my second finger. On the D string, the note I'm going to hit is on the second fret, so I'm going to use my second finger again. On the G string, I'm going to use the second finger as well, second fret. On the B string, I'm going to jump to my third finger. And on the E string, I'm going to use my third finger as well. I'm sorry about that. All right. If I went through the entire scale, it would be open, third, open, second, open, second, open, second, open, third, open, third. And that gives me my first scale. You can take your time with it. What I do sometimes is just make things up. I'm very big on creativity. So if I'm on the bottom, I might just go, just make up anything. On the second one, I might try going, I don't know. Rebecca, why don't you make one up on the second? on the A string.
Can I use more than one string?
No, not yet. People don't know yet. All right. If I make one up on the D string, I might come up with, or I could start with a fretted note, couldn't I? There's the beginning of Sunshine of My Love by Clapton. Don't add any others, please. All right. All right. That is our scale. Together, Rebecca and I will do these scales for you. Here is what it would sound like with a whole note. Ready? 2, 3, 4. That's going to be part of our thing here. We're going to make mistakes, and that's all right. Third fret, open, second fret, open, second fret, open, second fret, open, third fret, open, and half note now. 1, 2, 3, 4. And quarter note. 1, 2, 3, 4. All rest strokes. Now, when I go to the 8th note, I'm going to do 2 on each sound. So I'm going to go down, up, down. All right, we're going to do the double. We're going to double the note. So in thinking 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. There's our scale. Now, we can make things up any way we want. And I'd encourage, that's it, go ahead. I encourage that kind of creativity. Okay, we're not talking about those hammer-ons yet, babe. All right, so, yeah. You got to stay with the concept. All right. To finish off this lesson, I want to get you playing at least the beginning of a song itself. Now, in order to do that, I have to teach you a chord. And a good way to do that is to learn that on the guitar, basically, we learn to put our hands into certain shapes. Now, the first shape that I find to do is simply a 2-finger shape, like this, right? Like you're going to scoop something out with your fingers, all right? Now, if I put those 2 fingers down on the 2nd fret, A string, 2nd fret, D string, and put them together, I get a beautiful chord known as E minor. Notice how I'm using that rest stroke going down so I can hear that all the tones are ringing. Then I might hit the whole thing. Now, this particular shape can be played with any set of fingers. Here I'm using the 1st and 2nd. But if I use the 2nd and 3rd, I get the same sound, don't I? If I use the third and fourth, I get the same sound. So that particular shape can be played with any sets of fingers. What's more, I can play it anywhere on the neck that I want to. But you will find that certain places will sound different or not pleasing to the ears. If I find one of those spots, I like to call that a dissonant sound. It doesn't mean I can't use that sound, but what it does mean is that you're probably not going to be drawn to that sound right away until you learn how to resolve it. Okay? So, you might try moving your sound around into different places up the neck. The only thing you have to keep in mind is that the two fingers, that shape, has to remain in the same fret. So both fingers have to be in the same fret. Find the places up the neck that sound good to your ear. Find the places that don't. That's okay. That way you learn to avoid that particular spot on the neck. Now, this, when I'm moving up and down the neck, I call horizontal motion. If I drop just a set of strings, this is known as vertical motion. So going up and down in the same fret is a vertical motion. If I drop that set down one set of strings, listen to what happens. You might recognize that as the very first chord in The Who's song Behind Blue Eyes. Now, this sound to this sound is extremely pleasing to the ears. So the first song you're going to work with is a movement from the E minor chord to what is known as the A9. Now, let's use our rhythms, Rebecca.
Right.
All right, whole notes first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Drop the fingers. 3, 4. Now, if I do half notes, what I'm going to do, because chords move slower than melody notes, I tend to fill measures with one chord. So that means I'm going to count to 4, and I'm going to hit the note twice, but I'm going to keep the same chord for the length of the measure. So a measure of E minor would sound 1, 2, 3, 4. If I move my fingers down, I would also count the same way. So I'd get 2 A9s in the same measure. 1, 2. Now let's go back and forth once you develop the half note feel. 2, 3, 4. If I want quarters, now I'm counting in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I want to go to the down up eighth note, I have to think before I try playing it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. heard more, I might use a whole note. If you take the 2 and go to that A9 and experiment the way I said before. In fact, try every fret. If I go to the 2nd fret, it sounds like this. Not likely to want to use that one. That's called dissonance. If I go to the 4th fret up, oh, that doesn't sound so bad at all. Maybe if I go from this sound to this sound, Rebecca, work with me, please. Maybe if I go from this sound to this sound.
The 4th?
I'm on the 4th fret, yep. Okay. I can make a song of my own. I can make up whatever words I want. Wasn't so bad. I'm not going to make up words right now, but you can at home. All right. If I go to the 5th fret, let's see what that sounds like. Oh, that's beautiful. All right. We're not going to talk about what chords they are right now. We're just going to experiment with them. If I go to the 6th fret, listen to it. Oh, that's beautiful too. In fact, wait a second. I like this 5th fret and I like this 6th fret. I'm going to make a song right there. Are you ready? Start on the 6th fret, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. Might go to my quarter note rhythm. Might do some 8s. As long as I keep counting that 4. Rebecca can come up with her own rhythm and they will align as long as we are counting the 4 in our heads. Now, I believe there's a Gordon Lightfoot song called Beautiful that uses that particular chord progression. How beautiful. Let's see what the 7th fret sounds like. Oh, that's nice too. Yeah, exactly. Experiment with it. Let's see what the next fret, the 8th fret, sounds like. Oh, gosh, not that one. I'm going to probably avoid that one. Let's see what the 9th fret sounds like. Oh, that's pretty too. So you'll see that there's a lot more possibilities with the middle 2 strings, the D and the G string. And dissonant, but it sounded good because everybody expected me to go down to that bottom A. See, if I started on the 5th, go ahead. Here's consonant on the 5th fret.
I don't know what I'm doing.
5th fret.
5th.
Thank you. Now I'm going to go down 1. I know that sounds good, but this one doesn't. But it sounds just fine because our ears tell us that we're going to end up on that bottom one there. So they allow us to do things that are dissonant. Just because the sound is dissonant, do not think it is not useful. Now, the best thing you could do is try and take those 2 ideas, well, actually several ideas in this video, and be creative with them. See if you can make your own song up using this shape, this 2-finger chord shape. It's awesome. You will have fun with it, and I'd love to see what comes from it. That's it. Thank you from Rosebriar Creek.